Revenge doesn't always have to be pro or nuclear to be good. No, sometimes it can be petty, like you'll see in this episode of Petty Revenge. Our first one is from OK Lifeguard 6508. I'm GM of a largish, family-owned company. I've been there for ages and loved my job until recently. The CEO, until 6 months ago, was the founder of the business and paterfamilias of the extended family. He passed away suddenly, and his granddaughter Karen has taken over. It started well, as she is clever, hardworking, and experienced. There was a lot of goodwill, as everyone was very loyal to the old man and wanted to help his granddaughter. But she is also a bully, a drunk, and a vocal misandrist. Our workforce is predominantly male. At a business drinks function, Karen got drunk, loudly denounced our most loyal and biggest 60% of revenue customer, Bob, as pale, stale, and male, and then loudly racially abused my wife when she tried to retrieve the situation. This wasn't by any stretch her first meltdown at customers, employees, or their wives. I met Bob the next week, apologized profusely, and asked if he'd ever thought of opening his own plant. He had. He and Mrs. Bob had dinner at our place, and we all made plans. In the coming weeks, myself, my leadership colleagues, and our machine operators had quietly signed up to work at the new plant. We've had after-hours meetings, which we code-named Flight Club, to plan the new business. All very exciting. Here's the revenge bit. We were all on week-to-week employment contracts. Friday last week, we all resigned by email 5 minutes before clockout time. Karen was sitting at her desk with email after email rolling in with resignation in the subject line. You could see the blood start draining from her face. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered what she said to my wife. Tomorrow is our last day. We've recruited almost all the remaining employees to the new business. I have a non-compete clause in my contract, so it's a forced 3-month holiday for me. On Monday, the lights won't come on and the motors won't turn at our old plant. It will just be in Karen and a pile of raw material with no one to process it. Her business has sufficient equity to recover, but it will be 6 months by the time she recruits a new team, recommissions the plant, and gets the order book full again. It will take her 18 to 24 months to get the business out of the red. I mean, you kind of feel bad, but at the same time, you kind of don't, because if you're gonna drunkenly abuse your employees, not even offer an apology or anything like that, what do you expect the outcome is going to be? I admire you all for at least trying to stick it out before throwing in the towel. This next one is by Armandu. While I was living in Singapore, I traveled back to the US East Coast and brought 4 or 5 of our Singaporean engineers with me for a conference and some in-house meetings. While visiting, they wanted to do some shopping at a certain high-end department store. It was mid-morning, so the shop was quiet. These were all men in their 20s and 30s, dressed as you would expect typical technical types to dress. As we noisily wandered about the store, we came to the cosmetics counter. As you may know, cosmetic salespeople typically have quotas and can earn commissions and bonuses. They are often young, attractive women and use the products they sell. As my charges approached the counter, it was clear to me that the youthful saleswoman was not interested in engaging with these foreign men. Language was not a problem, as English is the primary language in Singapore. I started to approach the woman, but she shot me a look that said move on as she ignored the men. I went around the counter and found a more mature salesperson and asked for her to help. She came over and engaged them in conversation. Then, each of the engineers pulled out a paper from their pockets and handed the papers to the woman. These contain lists of high-end cosmetics that their wives requested. The saleswoman only had to collect, bag, and ring up the products. Not trying out products. No waffling between choices. Easiest sales of the day for well over $1,000. The younger saleswoman was clearly unhappy. The younger saleswoman should be unhappy because, she didn't think it through that maybe men buy things for their wives. I don't know. Funny she lost out on probably a pretty hefty commission though. This next one is from Sakura-san. Years ago, I attended a fan convention in a large city. Due to limited hotel space and budget constraints, many fans agreed to group up in hotel rooms to split costs ahead of time. My room ended up having 4 other guys in it, including 2 brothers who had flown in from out of state. Since I didn't book the room, I was relegated to a small section near the front door, where I would inflate my air mattress each night. My backpack and other belongings were placed on or near an end table in the corner. After the first day of walking the convention floor, I had some loose change in my pockets that I stacked on my wallet back in the room. The next morning, as we were preparing to hit the con floor again, the coins had mysteriously vanished. I said nothing, but I had my suspicions. Lo and behold, the exact same thing happened the morning of the 3rd day. This time, I asked the older of the 2 brothers mentioned above if they'd seen a stack of quarters which I had left on top of my own wallet. He deliberately avoided eye contact and told me he'd been leaving change all over the room. Being the coward I was at the time, I left it at that. Throughout the weekend, the younger of the 2 brothers had been suggesting we visit a nearby local comic shop on the 3rd night because he thought it would be cool to see. Eventually, I agreed and we drove out to it. What he didn't tell me was there was a tournament for a tabletop card game that was popular at the time being held that night. As he sat down to play a game, he looked at me and said, "You can leave if you want." I ended up meandering around the immediate area while I waited for him to finish the tournament. Now, throughout the weekend, I'd been noticing that the brothers didn't seem to be managing their money very well. They seemed to be hard-pressed to cover simple travel expenses like food. I overheard them talking about how they'd still need to get a cab, this was pre-Uber, back to the airport. At some point during the first half of the weekend, I vaguely remembered agreeing to give them a lift to the airport on the final day, since it was in the same direction as my hometown anyway. But that was before the lying and the thieving. I woke up at 5 a.m. on the last day, quietly packed and left before anyone else woke up. To this day, I have no idea how they got back to the airport. I suspect it involved an uncomfortable call to their parents and begging for money. I never could understand people who assume your things are their things, but their things are their things and not anybody else's things. So I just don't understand what kind of mentality these people have, but that is beautiful revenge to get back at them, because if they're gonna steal from you, why do them any solid favors? And our final one is by I Don't Know Anymore 777. I was 15 female at the time, and he was 17 male at the time. I was immature and petty. We just weren't meant to be. But anyways, we were dating. He said he loved me, I said I loved him. He would constantly talk about his ex though, and about how they were friends and he wanted to visit her. I told him this made me uncomfortable, and maybe we should just break up. He didn't want to break up, and convinced me to stay. He would also rate girls and hang out with his previous crushes one-on-one. He'd go out to the movies with them, dinner, etc. He would even make fun of my looks by calling me animal names that I will not repeat. He rated me a 3 and rated his ex-crush an 8. I'm not the type to chase a guy who doesn't want me, so I stopped caring. I offered to break up multiple times, but he didn't want to. And I wanted revenge, so I stopped being as affectionate. I just pulled back and became emotionally unavailable. I would also say, "How was your dinner date? You guys are so cute together. You should date," etc. He said, "But I'm with you. I love you." I would say, yeah, but if you're gonna hang out with your exes and crushes, just date them. I don't care. This really hurt his feelings. He admitted that he liked a girl named Claire right before we started dating. He asked her out and she said no because she was dating someone already. They remained friends and would hang out at her place alone. So I told him, "You guys would be perfect for each other. Let's break up so y'all can be together. I'm so happy for you." This would break his heart, but it would break my heart whenever they hung out one-on-one. His feelings for her never went away. Some guys will do things expecting you to be hurt. When you show them that you aren't hurt, they get hurt. And I knew that, so I purposefully tried to hurt his ego. And it worked. It got to him so much that he would cry, and he complained that I was too emotionally unavailable. I said, "But I just want you to be happy, and you're happier with your previous crushes and girlfriends than with me, so be with them. I don't care." He was really hurt by this for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe he was just pretending. Maybe he was hurt because I wasn't begging for his attention. Anyways, he broke up with me, and I said, "Okay, that's fine. I'd be happy to break up," and left. He called me for days trying to rationalize the breakup and trying to find out if I still had feelings. I kept telling him, "I think you should be with someone who makes you happy, and it was your decision to break up. Now you have to live with it. Bye." I stopped answering his calls and texts. I don't know if this counts as revenge, but I was very calculated with my plans on hurting his feelings, which was what I wanted to do at the time. I'm not like that anymore though. I was 15 at the time. I was young and dumb. I'm of the belief that an ex is an ex for a reason. You shouldn't really hang out with them one-on-one or anything, because obviously one thing could lead to another because of past history. Not to mention, if you're currently with somebody, then definitely hanging out with an ex should be not even a consideration. Unfortunately, a lot of people want to have their cake and eat it too and can't break things off that really should be broken off. I think your long drawn out calculated revenge was perfect for the situation. Alright. That's enough revenge for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Petty Revenge. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.